Wondering about prednisone and hand tremors? This question was asked by a long term prednisone warrior, and he sent an email, and this is what he said. He said, Dr. Megan, I've been on prednisone for many years and have suffered a lot of side effects. I have had a problem with hand tremors when I do some small tasks. Heavy work, no problem. Holding a glass of water is sometimes a problem. I've been taking Nutrinize for several years now and wanted your opinion on any ideas to help stop these tremors. It is not the Parkinson's. I went to the doctor, that came up negative. In this video, we'll talk about whether prednisone causes hand tremors, how to tell possibly what type of tremor you may have, and then strategies to reduce or manage or maybe stop these tremors. So let's get started. First of all, if you type tremor into any prednisone side effect published list, you will not find it listed. This is not a common side effect of prednisone, at least in the literature. But it is reported by some individuals who've taken prednisone, such as me. I personally took prednisone for 9 months, and while I was on it, I had a jittery tremor in my hand. In fact, I drew a picture of what I felt like while on prednisone. I call it my side effect cartoon. Check it out. You can see my hand is jittery. This is what I said about it at the time. I had this weird hand tremor, like when you're hungry or something. It was all shaky, a weird jittery feeling from prednisone. I could feel my heart beating extra hard sometimes, or in a weird rhythm, little heart palpitations. So those are two different things. There was my hand jitteriness, and I was also having some weird heart palpitations as well. So in general, from a pharmacological biochemical point of view, here's how prednisone may cause hand tremors, even if it's not listed as an actual side effect in the literature, except by me. First, prednisone affects the nervous system. Prednisone is mimicking our body's naturally occurring hormone called cortisol, and cortisol is what Mother Nature makes a lot of during emergency situations, disasters, and helps us deal with stress. And so in that situation, the cortisol is triggering way more epinephrine, norepinephrine, and these hormones that will make you feel jittery. Like when you go into shock, you have that jittery feeling, and that's a legitimate thing that cortisol does. And prednisone's mimicking cortisol, so maybe that is part of what prednisone is doing. In addition, prednisone is changing your brain structures, causing shrinkage of some places, and potentially that could do something, but there's just no great research about it. The second way prednisone may contribute to hand tremors is blood sugar fluctuations. So prednisone is a glucocorticoid, meaning it causes the body to have more glucose in the blood. Glucose meaning sugar. And that's because it's releasing glucose from your liver and your muscles, and it's causing insulin insensitivity. So when you're having these high blood sugars and then they suddenly drop, that low blood sugar moment, hypoglycemia, can make you feel jittery, and people can have hand tremors. And number 3 way prednisone may cause hand tremors is what it does to muscles. Steroid-induced myopathy is what it's called. This is a breakdown, a catabolism of muscle fibers. Your body's releasing the protein and the other nutrients from your muscles when it's breaking them down. And this weakening of muscles may preferentially affect the smaller muscles that help with things like holding a glass of water, with fine motor movements. It's possible. This could explain why holding a glass of water may have more of an effect than performing harder work that would be using bigger muscles. Okay, so now let's talk about what type of tremor it might be, because a tremor can have many causes and therefore different solutions. So it's important to figure out what could be the cause. And I don't want you to diagnose yourself over a YouTube video, but here are some possible causes of hand tremor. The first and most common is called essential tremor. It's like the worst name ever because nobody thinks a tremor is an essential thing to have. I have no idea how they ended up with that name. It even used to have a weirder name, but benign essential tremor. Benign meaning it has no consequences. It's not a problem. But for those who suffer from essential tremor, know that it is anything but benign. The shaking happens when you're using your hands for things like lifting a glass of water, signing your name, and other movements. So it's called an action tremor because it happens when you're doing an action. Typically, this tremor improves at rest. Like you don't have it while you're just sitting there, typically. And this often runs in families, has a strong genetic component or maybe environmental component to it. That if a first degree family member has it, you have almost an 80% chance of you having it. The second type of tremor is called a drug-induced tremor. These are tremors caused by medications. Prednisone could be one, or things like stimulants. Again, this typically occurs during movement and fine motor tasks. This will often improve when the dose is lowered. And I'm guessing this is probably the kind of tremor I had because since I've been off prednisone, I have never had the jittery hand tremor feeling ever again. And it's been years. And finally, there's Parkinson's tremor. Sounds like you were concerned about this, and that's why you asked your doctor and got it checked out. This tremor is often at rest. So you'll see a person's hand is just moving, even though it shouldn't be moving at that time. Often this type of tremor will improve with movement. So it won't happen when you're drinking. It'll happen when you're just sitting there. Because it's associated with Parkinson's, there are often other complications like things you'll notice about Parkinson's: stiffness of movement, slowness of movement. There may even be jaw tremor that could be associated with Parkinson's and is less likely to be associated with essential tremor, which may have a head nod, the essential one, a yes or a no. Those are possible types of tremors that may be associated with a hand tremor from essential tremor. But if it's the jaw, that's more likely to be Parkinson's. So what are some strategies to reduce tremors? Here are some practical strategies to reduce or manage tremors. I'm not going to say these are a cure, but they may help minimize the symptoms. First is lifestyle adjustments. And this is minimizing things that can make tremors worse. The first thing you want to minimize is caffeine and other stimulants. As I mentioned, they can cause drug-induced tremors themselves. Caffeine can worsen tremors by overstimulating the nervous system. Second, eat balanced meals. So this is going back to one of the ways prednisone may contribute to hand tremors, which is the imbalance in blood sugar. You want to eat balanced meals that have enough protein and fat to compensate for the carbohydrates in your meal. So if you have any questions about this, definitely reach out to a nutritionist, a dietitian, or your doctor for more advice about your personal situation and what would be a good diet for you. But for the most part, you want to focus on low glycemic index foods like whole grains, protein, and healthy fats to stabilize your blood sugar. Next, reducing stress. Now, this is like one of the most impossible things and weirdest things that we ever mention to people. Hey, just reduce stress. Like your health condition is causing you stress, but just reduce stress. But it really legitimately makes sense in this situation because the nervous system has a lot to do with tremors. And so if you can do things like deep breathing, yoga, relaxation techniques, these actually counteract the way prednisone is affecting you. I told you that the cortisol makes you increase the amount of fight or flight hormones like epinephrine. That's because it's putting you into sympathetic overdrive. It's putting you into the sympathetic side of the immune system. That sympathetic sounds like a good thing, but when it comes to a tremor, it's not. It means that's the jittery, I'm going to run away and fight or flight. We want to go into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest, relax. I'm at a feast surrounded by people I love. I'm just relaxing and digesting my food really well. That is where you want to put your body. And one way to do that is by breathing. So slow, deep breaths. Breathing techniques can be really powerful in minimizing stress and getting into the right kind of nervous system. So let's talk about supplements that can support nerve health and may support your hands. First is magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral that your body uses in over 300 biochemical reactions. One of the main places it's used is in your muscles, and you've got to have enough magnesium to prevent cramping and muscle loss. So when you have enough magnesium, you can have strong muscles that aren't cramping, and maybe it can help with tremor. You mentioned you're taking Nutrinize, and it has some magnesium in it. Actually, it has quite a bit of magnesium in it. But if this is a problem for you, you can optimize the amount of magnesium in your diet. And you can optimize magnesium supplementation. So this is the exact same kind of magnesium glycinate as is in Nutrinize, but I personally take this because I have issues with muscle cramping, and so I add this to the Nutrinize to get up to a higher amount of magnesium for my personal muscle issues. And so I take 2 of these every night at bedtime in addition to the Nutrinize zone. So you can increase the amount of magnesium that you're intaking. Next, B vitamins are really important for nerve conduction and energy metabolism. And vitamin B6, there's a great source of it in here. There's another B vitamin that you may need, but I did not include in Nutrinize zone because first, it's not depleted by prednisone. And second, for some people who take prednisone, it could be harmful. And that's vitamin B12. And I'm pretty sure you're not one of those people for whom it would be harmful, but there are some diseases where they have issues with vitamin B12. And you would know if you had that. So the vitamin B12 is a really helpful one for nervous system issues, and a lack of B12 can be shown in low energy and things like that. So it's not very well absorbed as a pill. So that's another reason it's not in Nutrinize zone. It's better absorbed under the tongue, sublingually, or as an injection. Some people will get an injection of B12 like every 4 weeks. I personally, when I had anemia, I would take B12 under my tongue every morning. And so that's a way I'd recommend getting vitamin B12. The other name for it is cyanocobalamin. And then finally, omega-3 fatty acids or fish oil are really helpful for proper nerve conduction. And maybe the issue with the tremor, like I mentioned, could be in the nervous system and the brain. And so omega-3 fatty acids might be a great option. My favorite source of omega-3s are Pro Omega D from Nordic Naturals. I personally take this every day, along with the magnesium and the Nutrinize zone. And this could help support you as well. These both are available on my website if you want to get them to go along with Nutrinize zone. And you mentioned you're already taking Nutrinize, which is great. So you could add those several things back on, and that would help. And that Nutrinize zone is replenishing the nutrients that prednisone depletes. So just keep taking that and add on those others. So now that I've mentioned lifestyle, supplementation, what about prescription medications? So there are some prescription medications that may help. And one of them is called propranolol. And it's actually a blood pressure medication. And sometimes doctors prescribe it off-label for things like performance anxiety, when people get all jittery and nervous when they're about to perform or give a speech or something. And it's because it's helping your body suppress that emergency feeling and get into a more calm feeling. And so for some people, it can help minimize the tremors. If that doesn't work, you can go to an anti-seizure medication, but I would definitely do everything I've listed already before going to an anti-seizure medication. And finally, if it happens to be from prednisone, it's a possibility you could adjust your prednisone dose and it may minimize the tremor. But if you need prednisone, then you need prednisone, and that may not be an option for you. So when should you see a doctor? If the tremors are worsening, you've made these lifestyle changes and it's not helping, then it's time to talk to a doctor. And they can run tests to rule out other issues that it could be. They can help you minimize your prednisone dose, and they can prescribe those medications that can minimize it. So hand tremors can be frustrating. I know, I personally experienced it while I was on prednisone. But there are some things you can do to minimize the complications to you. And so follow through with the things I've mentioned in this video. And for those of you who aren't already taking Nutrinize Zone, you can find it at nutrinize.com, nutranize.com. It's 2 in the morning and 2 at bedtime for your month's supply of all the nutrients you need while on prednisone. This is the baseline, what every person needs while on prednisone. It's got enough of the nutrients for pretty much everyone. But if you have specific conditions like hand tremors, then you can add on things like magnesium or omega-3s, or increase the dose of some of the ingredients in there, like berberine. This can help with metabolism. So those are all helpful things you can do to feel better while taking prednisone. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist.